I think that would be exciting. I've actually got a better landing spot for O'Reilly for you guys if you want to hear it.
Let's go.
Okay, we talked the other day about where O'Reilly, Stamkos, like where all these guys go, and Pete and I have a thought on one team for some of these guys, but I'm interested if there are any standout options for, like specifically Stamkos. If something ends up happening there, who should be in on him?
I think a lot of teams would theoretically be in on him just because he's Steven Stamkos and he's got that name reputation. I don't know though, man. Like the $8 million he's owed for 2 more years after this one, it's a lot, even with everyone having cap space, and he's just so limited as a player right now. Like every once in a while, he'll just hammer one from that left circle, and it'll look cool, but he's not really providing much more than that at this point. So I feel like a serious contender certainly wouldn't want to use their cap space on that. I think it would have to be a team that's just looking to generate fan excitement and be like, hey, we have Steven Stamkos on our team. He's going to score a couple of power play goals. It'll be fun. You should come to our games. But I'm not sure if he's going to want to move and do that at this point of his career. So I'm not really sure what the market is like for either him or Marchessault, given how much money's still owed to them.
So I've got one for you then. The Blackhawks trade for him, and it puts you in a position where, and I talked to Pete about this, like you'd have to make sure that Stamkos is on board with it, but trade for him now and say, do we think we're going to be a playoff team? I don't know, but let's see where this can go, and we'll have Nashville eat a little money on this. And if it doesn't work out by the time we get to the deadline, 75 days will have passed, and then we can eat money on you and really get you wherever you want to go. Because any team that might be interested in Steven Stamkos, like real contenders, some of those Western Conference teams, they don't have $6 million to $8 million to add Steven Stamkos right now. So the Blackhawks could get him, draw up excitement, see what he can do for them. Obviously, he brings in some leadership. And if it doesn't work out, then they just eat a little more money and probably get more for him than what they gave up. And I think everybody wins because Stamkos ends up in a place where he can contend.
And I'll jump in here and say I think that Ryan O'Reilly to Chicago makes way more sense to me, just in terms of the fit and trying to push this thing forward. Like having Ryan O'Reilly go to Chicago where they actually need that center reinforcement and a guy who can teach Bedard like the defensive aspect of the game and have him learn from Ryan O'Reilly would be such an incredible fit, and they've got the money to spend. So like where do you stand on that?
I like the Stamkos to Chicago just from the like excitement perspective, trying to build off this early season momentum and giving a guy on the opposite flank for Bedard to play with on the power play and just giving him another shooting option. I think that would be exciting. I've actually got a better landing spot for O'Reilly for you guys if you want to hear it.
Let's go.
I think the Devils are the best fit for him. Now, he doesn't have any trade protection, and even dating back to last year, we've heard all the reports are the Predators are going to treat it as if he does. They're only going to trade him to a place he wants to go. I think he would be a perfect fit for the Devils because he gives them a bit of optionality. Like they don't necessarily need another center. They've already got Jack Hughes and Hischier, but Jack Hughes is historically bad at faceoffs, and O'Reilly's still one of the best in the league at that. So he'd give them a really valuable weapon there. He's so good net front to play off of some of those talented puck carriers they have. And then the contract where he has 1 year left on his deal, and I think the Devils want to get better, but they don't want to take on a lot of future money because Quinn Hughes is going to be a UFA in the summer of 27, and they want to clear as much money as they can so they can build out their team that summer. And that's exactly when O'Reilly's contract expires. So there's no real downside in terms of it not working out by the time they remake their team. And in the short term for this year and next year, he'd help them a lot. So I feel like O'Reilly makes a lot of sense for them.
That would be perfect. You tolerated the Stamkos thing, which I appreciate. Do you think that teams will or should already have their wheels turning though on like how do we work around this double retention constraint that's put into place now?
Yeah, certainly. We were talking about it in the summer, and we spoke about it with a player agent, and he indulged us and thought we were on the right track about it in terms of teams potentially. It might not happen this year, but in future years, like almost playing this out a year ahead, because I think there's that window where you have to wait until you can retain it again. And so essentially, I think we're going to see teams try to map this stuff out well in advance, where they acquire a guy, use him for half a season, and then trade him again. So it's going to take a while for that sort of stuff to play out, but I think we're actually going to see some pretty creative trades. It's going to take a player being willing to essentially move their stuff and their family and just stay in a place for a couple months knowing they're going to be moving again. But especially if they don't have trade restrictions, they don't really have a say in it. So I think we're going to see those types of deals facilitated.
To continue picking at the carcass of the Predators, would you, if you're a team that needs a goalie, would you take a chance on Juuse Saros at this point, given that contract situation?
1,000%. I mean, you look at the goalie market, and at this point, especially after Markstrom resigns as well, and he goes off the market this summer, like there's no one available. Like you're gonna have to trade for someone if you want to improve your goaltending. And the team in front of him has been so bad that I'm almost willing to throw out all the numbers. Like you look at his workload this season, and he's pretty much first in the league in every single volume category in terms of shot quantity and shot quality. And he's still so athletic and in his prime. And for goalies, it's less of a concern about age. Like I feel like he's got 4 or 5 more good years left in him. So that would be an incredibly exciting option. I think for the Predators, it's almost like they're not going to treat it as a sunk cost, right? Because they wound up trading Askarov because they committed to Saros. And so now they're going to need to make sure they get something legitimately great back to justify that decision. They can't just trade him to get rid of his contract and then all of a sudden now they got rid of Askarov for nothing. So you're going to have to entice them that way. But any number of teams right now that could use a goalie upgrade, like I feel like Saros is certainly the best player available.
It just feels more Seth Jones to me than it should, though, in that like anyone who's going to trade for him, like would you like Juuse Saros on your roster? Of course, but who that's going to trade for him has $7.7 million in cap space to give to him right now. And if you're the Predators, I agree with you. You can't just give him away. Like your best bet might be, you know what, we're going through a rebuild and let's unfortunately put him through it and hope that in 3-4 years he's still okay, which I have questions about because he is a little bit of a thing. And I don't know how, like, even if he stays athletic, I don't know, like I'm getting shorter as time goes on because I have shitty posture. What's that guy going to look like when he's 38 years old?
You think he's going to shrink in the next couple of years?
I think he's going to shrink. Old people shrink. It's what they do. Yeah, there's science behind it. My grandfather got so small.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a physical freak, though. And honestly, like, at the end of the day, hockey's an entertainment product, right? Like, you got to sell tickets, you got to sell jerseys, and goalies generally are pretty boring for the most part. Like, they're very weird personalities, but their whole job is to erase fun from the game and try to stop goals from happening. And Saros is one of the actually legitimately fun guys to watch at that position. And so, entertainment-wise, that's an upgrade. And I think in terms of stopping the puck, it's also an upgrade. So I feel like it makes sense for the Predators to keep him from that perspective. But also, if you're another team, I feel like I'm not nearly as worried about it as you seem to be.
This is, since we're talking about goalies and we haven't mentioned where we think they're going, but obviously any Juuse Saros / goalie trade talk has Oilers fingerprints all over it. What do you think the next couple of years of Stuart Skinner's life is? Because he's making under $3 million a year right now, and like he's a free agent. Is another team gonna? I mean, who knows? Maybe he goes on another run and finishes the job this time, and you say, okay, well then he has to be the guy there. But like, what do you think just his future holds in the NHL?
I mean, it seems like he's gonna have, regardless, a backup spot for the next 10 years if he wants it, because he seems like a great guy. Everyone loves him, and on this stage for the Oilers, like with how they play defensively sometimes and some of the mistakes he makes, it gets really amplified. So everyone's like, oh my God, he sucks. But then you actually look at the totality of the work and it's like, he's probably a league average guy and he's getting paid as such or even below that. So I feel like he's going to have a job in this league, kind of like what the career Jake Allen has carved out for him. I kind of see that as being a realistic path for him. But the Oilers fit for Saros would be hilarious because one of Stuart Skinner's deficiencies is the lateral movement and is a bit awkward sort of mechanics doing that. And Saros is the most athletic goalie in the league. So all of a sudden going from this guy who cannot go post to post in time to a guy who's doing that better than anyone probably ever would be a remarkable thing to watch.
I mean, stylistically and visually, you could not get more different between those two goalies. And I was saying, like, it sounds stupid, but I'm like, I don't know. I've seen the Oilers make these runs and I've liked the way that I've liked what's happened. It doesn't always look amazing, but I'm like, I can't imagine going from a moose in net to like a small little guy, but
a moose to a mouse.
A moose to a mouse, exactly. But as you say, I think when you see the way the mouse moves, you get over that real quick, yeah?
Yeah, and also I feel like, you know, it's tougher to quantify for us, but there is a psychological element as well with goaltending where it's like if you don't trust the guy who's your last line of defense, you're going to play a little bit different offensively in terms of the risks you take, kind of going up the ice, activating in transition. And so Saros is and has been one of the best goalies in the league at that lateral movement and stopping 2-on-1s or breakaways. And so all of a sudden now I feel like the Oilers would probably get a little bit more unleashed offensively as well, just in terms of some of the chances they're willing to take and it costing them. And so I feel like that would make a lot of sense. It would certainly be a massive commitment and they'd have to figure out the logistics of it. But just from a fit perspective, it would be a massive improvement.
All right, I'm in. Eat half, Barry, and you've got yourself a deal.
I think if the Oilers are looking at thinking about what it looks like for the goaltending situation, it should be a blank canvas because all that fucking matters is that the puck stays out of the net for that team. So
and that the goalie stays in the net.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he wants to hang on to possession and keep the puck away from the other team, that can work too.
Also, you guys saw that last Chris Knobloch interview after I think it was after the Avs game, right? Or it might have been the Columbus game, but they're like, have the guys lost trust in him? And he's like, I don't believe so, but it was the least convincing show of support I've ever seen from a coach.
I'm like very over blaming everything on Stu Skinner, but it doesn't matter. And I'll borrow from what Pete was saying earlier about the Bruins and celebrating Pasternak's 400th. It doesn't matter whether fans like myself or media are over Stuart Skinner. Like, too bad. If the team is over Stuart Skinner, it sucks, and I don't think he deserves it. But if the team actually doesn't have confidence, and for some reason they're like, we're not going to win with this guy, even though we came very close to winning with him, and he did enough to have us win, but we just didn't score a goal in game or 2 goals in game 7. Anyway, like, if they think that way, then it sucks because you can't move on from 23 people, including 2 of the best players of all time. Like, that's where I'll allow it. If the team, even if it's irrational, thinks they can't win in front of him, then fuck, like, you do have to move on.
Yeah.
I don't know if the team does. I mean, it seems like he's very beloved and he's been there for a while. And I feel like the players probably still are like, he gives us a chance to win. I feel like it's probably more of a coaching thing at this point because Chris Knobloch's having to answer all the questions about it and he's getting fed up with it. As we've seen him kind of go to Calvin Pickard, who's objectively a worse goalie than him at times in the playoffs. So I feel like that's the root of it. But I don't think I can't imagine the team is like, oh, we need to get a better goalie. Although I'm sure if Saros walked in the door, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl would be pretty excited.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get everything, daily episodes, player interviews, and so much more. It's all here on the What Chaos YouTube. Hit subscribe.